Welcome to the Chris Worsey Daily Show, where we tear the mask off the headlines and tell you what's really going on. If you're tired of politicians playing dress up as deal makers while industries collapse, you're in the right place. First up, we've got Keir Starmer. Just got a 5-week mercy extension from Trump on those brutal steel tariffs, but let's be real, this is a stay of execution, not a victory. British steel is hanging by a thread, and the so-called economic prosperity deal is about as solid as wet tissue paper. Then we're diving into how Wall Street's handing over your investments to machines and retail investors are getting mugged off on the way in. And finally, the richest man on the planet, Elon Musk, calls Trump's tax bill a disgusting abomination. Yep, you heard that right. Let's get into it because somebody's got to say what the rest are too scared to. Let's talk steel, and I mean real, heavy-duty, job-sustaining British steel, not the PR fluff politicians like to shovel around every time they screw something up. So here's the deal. Trump's coming in hot with a 50% import tariffs on steel and aluminium. But the UK, we've got a 5-week reprieve. Translation, we're on borrowed time while Labour scrambles to pretend they've got this trade deal in the bag. They don't. Let's get real. A month ago, we were told there was a done deal, a shiny economic prosperity agreement between the UK and the US. Headlines were all over it, Labour patting themselves on the back. But now, turns out that deal was smoke and mirrors. No quotas agreed. No clarity on what counts as UK-made steel. Just vague promises and photo ops. Now, businesses are getting crushed. Steel execs are saying orders have stopped completely. One company, 150 million quid's worth of steel now stuck behind a tariff wall. Another said job security is on the line right now. These are real people, real families, not spreadsheet entries. And here's the kicker. The government's still spinning this as a win. We're pleased to avoid the 50% tariff, they say. Pleased? Are you out of your mind? Businesses are bleeding cash. Workers are facing layoffs. And you're pleased you dodged the axe for now. Trump's move wasn't charity, it was a warning shot. He said if we don't comply with the deal terms, by July the 9th, the tariffs go to 50% automatically. He's basically drawing a line in the sand. This is his style, take it or leave it, but don't say you didn't see it coming. And Labour, they're scrambling. They're blaming the US side for dragging things out. Okay, but what did you expect? This is the art of the deal, not the art of dithering. If you negotiate with a guy like Trump, you show it with leverage, speed, and a clear wish, not wish lists and press releases. Even the steel industry is saying it. This delay is highly damaging. We need to act quickly. This uncertainty is devastating, they're saying. That's not political posturing from them, that's panic, and it's justified. Because the minute you let uncertainty creep into global supply chains, buyers walk away. They don't wait around for bureaucrats, they go elsewhere. And once you lose that business, good luck clawing it back. Let me make this plain. This delay, this dithering, it's not just embarrassing, it's an economic liability. And while Labour and the White House argue over technicalities, working people are footing the bill. Here's what needs to happen. Number 1, finalise the deal. No more talks, get results. Number 2, lock down clear quotas. No more grey areas. Number 3, let's get serious about domestic trade defence. The EU's stepping up, we're sitting ducks. Bottom line, this isn't about steel, it's about trust. Trust in government, trust in trade, trust that anyone in Westminster is actually looking out for the people who make things. Right now, that trust is running on empty. All right, let's shift gears and talk about two big beasts in the investing jungle. Artificial intelligence and private equity. One's finally waking up and the other's still pretending it's smarter than it really is. So first, Cliff Asness. The man who runs AQR, one of the original quant shops. For years, he was one of the holdouts. We don't trust the machines, we like rules-based models, blah, blah, blah. Now, he's finally waved the right flag. We've surrendered more to the machines, he says. Translation, the nerds lost the argument. AI is taking over. Machine learning isn't just the future, it's already here. And the folks who refuse to adapt are either out of the game or, like Asness, eating humble pie. And fair play, it's working. Since the dark days of the so-called quant winter, when strategies were tanking and AQR's assets dropped from $226 billion to under $100 billion, they're back on top. Apex Fund, 90% returns. Delphi Strategy, 14.6%. That's some serious money. But here's what really matters. AI is now making calls when we don't even understand why. That's the rub. You turn things over to the machines, they split out patterns, and you bet real money based on that. And Asness admits it. He said, sometimes we don't know exactly why the pattern works, but the data says it does. Now me, I love data. But you better have a steel gut if you trust an algorithm to run billions and you can't explain why it's buying X and shorting Y when markets crash. Investors panic when they can't blame a human. That's reality. Still, respect where it's due. Asnus is owning it. He's not pretending AI is perfect, but he's saying, look, it's better than what we had. And more importantly, it's honest. Now compare that to the private equity clowns still trying to convince pension funds and now regular folks that they're buying low risk, high return magic beans. Asnus calls them out, and I'll quote him here. There's a lot of BS out there. Private equity deceived big institutional investors, and now they're pushing retail to join the ride. Couldn't have said it better myself. Here's the scam. Private equity avoids public scrutiny. They don't mark down their portfolios in real time like everyone else. They delay reporting, then brag about stability. It's not real. It's an accounting illusion. And now they're pushing evergreen funds to retail investors with fewer protections, worse terms, and zero liquidity. You want to democratize investing? Great. But don't start by feeding retail the worst version of a product that's already rigged. Musk turns on Trump's disgusting tax bill. All right, let's talk about Elon Musk. Yep, that Elon. Torching Trump's so-called big, beautiful tax bill. And let me tell you, when the world's richest man, the same bloke who dropped $250 million back in your campaign, starts calling his signature policy a disgusting abomination, you know the wheels are falling off. Now look, Musk has his critics, and I don't worship billionaires just because they've got a fat net worth. But I do pay attention when a guy like him, who's been all in on MAGA money, turns around and says, enough. This isn't just some political spat. This is a major red flag about what's really in that bill. Because if Musk's calling it pork-filled and saying it's a betrayal of the American people, there's a damn good chance he's not wrong. Here's what's really going on. Trump's BBB, the big beautiful bill, just bulldozed through the House and is now limping into the Senate. It's been sold like it's some kind of patriotic economic miracle. Slash taxes, shrink government, boost growth, blah, 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 blah. But what's under the hood? Massive debt, cuts to Medicaid, and a blank check for Washington's usual waste. We're talking $5 trillion in new borrowing. You hear that? $5 trillion. While they're also slashing social programs and pretending it's good for working people. It's a con. Plain and simple, the kind of bait and switch that screws small business owners and everyday Americans while the donor class gets fat. Musk isn't even trying to be polite about it anymore. He posted, shame on those who voted for it, you know you did wrong. That's not lobbying, that's war. And he's not alone. Even Rand Paul and Mike Lee, the supposed fiscal hawks, are coming out against this mess. And suddenly Trump's out there on Truth Social yelling that Paul doesn't understand the bill. Come on, that's not leadership, that's desperation. But here's what really matters. Musk is calling for a political reckoning. He's telling Americans to vote out anyone who's backed this trash. That's huge. He's pulled the plug on funding MAGA candidates and publicly torched the one guy he backed with hundreds of millions just last year. You got to ask yourself, if Trump's own billionaires are jumping ship, what does that tell you about this bill? It's not reform. It's not pro-growth. It's probably not even conservative. It's just more of the same broken politics dressed up in a MAGA hat. Musk says he's tired of being blamed for every dumb policy the White House pushes. I don't blame him. You back a guy thinking he's going to drain the swamp, and then he floods it with more corporate handouts and backroom giveaways. Yeah, I'd walk too. Now listen, you don't have to like Elon Musk, but when someone that deep in the system calls bullshit, that's when you know something stinks. And folks, this bill reeks. This isn't about party, this is about accountability. And right now, the people who vote for this spending orgy need to be called out. Every single one of them. Because this isn't conservatism, it's corruption. And if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or just a working person trying to get ahead, ask yourself, are they really working for you? Or are they just feeding the machine and handing you the bill? Time to wake up. All right, here's the bottom line. We're in a world where value creation gets punished, fake stability and private equity fools the masses, and even the billionaires are waking up to the scam. Don't let the suits and talking heads convince you this is normal. It's not. It's a rigged game, and the first step to winning is seeing it clearly. This show isn't about outrage, it's about awareness. And if you're building, investing, or just trying to get ahead, you need to start asking better questions. Because the people in power sure as hell aren't giving you straight answers. Thanks for watching the Chris Worsey Daily Show. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and most of all, stay in the game.